Good morning, students. Today I will teach you the third part of chapter number 6 of your English reader book, and the topic is This is Jordy's Fawn. Now see the book at page number 91. We read that Jordy went to search the fawn. He was searching the fawn. He wanted to bring that fawn at his home, but he did not get yet. Now we will read the remaining part, third part. Movement directly in front of him startled him so that he tumbled backward. There was a movement, and it was directly in front of him. That movement amazed him so much that he fell suddenly backward. The fawn lifted its face to his, and the fawn lifted his face towards Jordy. It turned its head with a wide wandering motion and shook him through with the stare of its liquid eyes. The fawn turned its head and he stared towards Jordy with its liquid eyes. It was quivering, and at that time the fawn was trembling, quivering. It made no effort to rise or run. The fawn did not make any effort to run or rise. Jordy could not trust himself to move, and Jordy also could not believe himself to move. From there, he whispered, "It's me." Jordy whispered that it was no one but me. The fawn lifted its nose, scenting him, and after that the fawn lifted its nose and he smelled Jordy. He reached out one hand and laid it on the soft nail. The touch made him delirious. And next, Jordy put his one hand on the soft neck of fawn, and the touch of Jordy made the fawn extremely excited. He moved forward on all fours until he was close beside it. He put his arms around its body. Jordy put his arms around the fawn's body. A light convulsion passed over it, but it did not stir. A light shiver, a light trembling passed over the fawn, but it did not move. He stroked its sides as gently as though the fawn were a china deer and he might break it. He touched the fawn's side as gently as though he thought that it was a clay deer and he might break it. The skin of that fawn was very soft. It was slick. The fawn was very smooth and shiny and clean and had a sweet scent of dots. The fawn was very smooth, shiny, it was very clean, and it had a sweet scent of grass. He rose slowly and lifted the fawn from the ground. Jordy rose slowly and he lifted up the fawn from the ground. Its leg hung limply. When he lifted the fawn, the legs of the fawn was not firm. They were surprisingly long, and he had to hoist the fawn as high as possible under his arm. The legs of the fawn were very long. That's why he had to pull up higher as high as he could do. He was afraid that it might kick and bleat at his side and smell of its mother. Jordy was afraid that when the fawn would see its mother, at that time he would kick and he would bleat. It means cry. He would cry. He skirted the clearing and pushed his way into the thicket. So he went towards the clearing, and after that he went through the shrubs, through the small trees, bushes. It was difficult to fight through with his burden. Jordy felt very difficult. having the fawn in his arms to fight with with the three kids. The fawn's leg caught in the bushes and he could not lift his own with freedom. The fawn's leg, it caught in bushes, in shrubs, and Zodi also, he could not lift his own feet free. He tried to shield its face from prickling vines. Zodi tried to save the face of fawn from pinching. Its head bobbed with his stride when Zodi was moving. At that time, the head of the fawn was moving up and down. Bobbed. Bob means to move up and down. His heart thumped with the marvel of its acceptance of him. Zodi's heart thumped with the wonderful thinking that the fawn has accepted him. He reached the tree and walked as fast as he could, and after that he reached at the intersection with the road home. He stopped to rest and set the fawn down on its dangling legs. He stopped there, and after that he set the fawn down on its dangling, shaking legs, wobbling legs. It wavered on them. The fawn, it wavered, wobbled, tottered. It tottered on its leg. It looked at him and bleated. The fawn looked towards Zodi and he started crying. He said, enchanted, I will carry you after I get my breath. Zodi said that he would carry the fawn after getting his breath. He remembered his father saying that a fawn would follow if it had first been carried. Once his father had told him that a fawn would follow if it had first been carried, and he remembered that fact. He started away slowly. The fawn stared after him. Then Zodi started to move and the fawn gazed towards him. He came back to it and stroked it and walked away again. He came back near the fawn, he stroked the fawn, and after that he again walked away. He took a few wobbling steps towards him and cried piteously. After that, the fawn, it also took a few tottering steps towards Zodi, and after that he started crying. It was willing to follow him. The fawn was willing to follow Zodi. It belongs to him. The fawn belonged to him. It was his own. The fawn was his own. The fawn was thinking that the fawn wanted to follow Zodi. He was light-headed with his sword. When Zodi saw that the fawn wanted to follow him, the fawn belonged to him, the fawn was his own. At that time, he was unable to think clearly because of happiness. He wanted to fondle it. He wanted to embrace the fawn. He wanted to love the fawn, to run and romp with it. Zodi wanted to run and play with the fawn. He wanted to call to it to come to him, and he also wanted to call the fawn near him. He dared not alarm him. That's why he did not dare to frighten him. He picked it up and carried it in front of him over his two arms. So he lifted that fawn into his arms and he started moving. It seemed to him that he walked without effort, and at that time he felt that he was walking without making any effort. His arms began to ache and he was forced to stop again. When he moved, after some time his arms began to ache and there was a pain in his arms and he was forced to stop again. When he walked on, the fawn followed him at once, and when he stopped and when he started walking, the fawn followed him at once. He allowed him to walk a little distance. Zodi allowed the fawn to follow a little distance, then picked it up again, and after that he again lifted the fawn in his arms. The distance home was nothing. Now the distance of the home was not too much. into the night, carrying it and watching it fall. Jody could have walked all day and night, carrying the fawn and watching it follow. He was wet with sweat, but the light breeze blew through the June morning, cooling him. He was wet because of sweat, but there was a gust of wind and it cooled him. The sky was as clear as spring water in a blue china cup. The sky was very clear. He came to the clearing and it was fresh and green after the night's rain. When he came near the clearing, it was fresh and green because of the night's rain. He fumbled with the lash and was finally obliged to sit down the fawn to manage it. He touched the fawn very lovingly, and after that he finally set the fawn down to manage on its leg. Then he had an idea. He would walk into the house, into Penny's room, and after that he thought that he should go directly into his father's room with the fawn walking behind him, and he would move and the fawn would also follow him. But at the steps the fawn barked and refused to climb them. But after some steps, but at the steps the fawn was unwilling to move. That's why he picked up it and went to his father's room. Penny was laying there and he had closed his eyes. Jody called, "Pa, look." Jody called that, "Papa, look towards me." Penny turned his head. Jody stood beside him. The fawn clutched hard against him. Penny turned his head. His father turned his head. At that time, Jody was standing, and the fawn was clutching Jody. It seemed to Penny that the boy's eyes were as bright as the fawn's. He said, "I am glad you found him." The eyes of the boys were as bright as the fawn, and his father appreciated him that he had found the fawn. Jody then went to the kitchen, and after that he went towards the kitchen. The fawn wobbled after him. The fawn followed him. The fawn tottered after Jody. A pan of morning milk stood in the kitchen safe. There was a pan of morning milk in the kitchen. The cream had risen on it, and there was a cream on that milk. He skimmed the cream into a jug. He removed the cream into a jug. He poured milk into a small gourd, and after that Jody poured milk into a small gourd, a small vessel. He held it out to the fawn, and after that he kicked that small vessel towards the fawn. It butted it suddenly. The fawn pushed the vessel suddenly, smelling the milk. When he smelled the milk, he pushed with his head that vessel suddenly. He saved it precariously from slipping over the floor. Jody saved that vessel, and he stopped it from spilling over the floor. It could make nothing of milk in the gourd. He dipped his fingers in the milk and thrust them into the fawn's soft wet mouth. He dipped his fingers in the milk, and after that he took his fingers into the fawn's soft wet mouth. Jody thought that he would not drink the milk. That's why he dipped his fingers in the milk, and after that he took his fingers into the mouth of the fawn. It sucked greedily. Then the fawn sucked the milk greedily. When he withdrew them, it bleated frantically and butted him. And when Jody withdrew his fingers, then the fawn started crying, and it pushed him with his head. He dipped his fingers again, and as the fawn sucked, again he dipped his fingers, and when the fawn started sucking, he lowered them slowly into the milk. Then he lowered his fingers into the milk. The fawn blew and shook and snorted. The fawn panted. It started sucking, and after that it started sipping the milk, drinking the milk. it stamped its small hoofs impatiently. The fawn kicked its small hoofs impatiently. As long as he held his fingers below the level of the milk, the fawn was content. And as long as Geordie held his fingers below the level of the milk, the fawn was satisfied. He was sipping the milk, he was drinking the milk. It closed its eyes gently when he was drinking the milk. When the fawn was drinking the milk, it had closed its eyes. It was ecstasy to feel its tongue against his hand, and it was a very joyful moment, very happiness, extremely happiness for Geordie to feel the tongues against his hand. Its small tail flicked back and forth. The tail of the fawn, it jerked back and forth. The last of the milk vanished in a swirl of foam and gurgle, and the last portion of the milk, it vanished, it finished in a swirl, in a movement of foam and gurgle. Okay, so students, this chapter is completed. I think you have understood very well. Now write all the word meanings in your notebook and revise this chapter, and the next step I will provide you the answers of the questions that have been given in your exercise. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.